episode of This Woman Works. I am your host, Mike Patton. And on this episode, I'm going to introduce everyone to someone that is not only in the game, but is running the game from her own perspective as well. That would be Miss Sydney Smith, Good Favor Sports CEO and founder. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful, Mike. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes. Thank you for coming on. We're going to get into your story, your journey from where you started to where you are now in just a moment. But of course, in starting this show, like I do every show, we have to start it with the Black Girl Magic moment. And in this episode, we're going to talk about our forever First Lady, Miss Michelle Obama. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, everyone knows her as, Barack Obama's wife and the first lady, things like that. But there is much more to her than that. Actually,
Mhm.
growing up, she grew up in Chicago, just like Barack Obama did. She also was one that she actually had a lot of goals and things like that. She saw her parents doing different things, and she wanted to not disappoint her parents as well. Her dad was dealing with multiple sclerosis growing up, and she actually just wanted to do better and be at a an elite level and not disappoint them with things that she wanted to do. So she actually went to Whitney Young, which is a magnet school, or at that point was the first magnet school in
Mhm.
Chicago, and it was a 3 hour turnaround. Basically what she was doing, going there and back, was 3 hours
It's
of her
crazy.
day, which is
Wow.
insane. But hey, that's what she wanted to do. She had
Mhm.
a goal in mind. And even with people telling her that maybe she's kind of overshooting anything, trying to go to Princeton, she still applied and she got into Princeton. So she graduated from Princeton. Of course, at Princeton, her first roommate actually, her first roommate's mom tried to get their daughter reassigned because Michelle Obama was a black woman
Mhm.
when she went there, which I thought was crazy. But hey, I got to remember the times we were in, and of course, some of the times we were still in now. But, um, that's what happened. She still, it's the first time she really ever, thought about being black in terms of outside of, she knew she was black, but just outside
Mhm.
of Chicago and things like that. She graduated from Princeton, went on to Harvard, actually has a law degree, folks. Yes, Michelle
Mhm.
Obama has a law degree. She still is active with that law degree. Of course, doesn't use it, but still is active with it. And of course, when she was practicing law, that's when she met Barack Obama. And a quick fact: their first date was seeing Spike Lee's "Do the Right Thing" in 1989, which I thought was very interesting. Of
Mhm.
course, they got married in 1992, and the rest is history from there in terms of the growth and the matriculation of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama to the White House, and her becoming the first, of course, black first lady, and him becoming the first black president in the
Mhm.
United States. So just wanted to take that quick minute and honor Michelle Obama with the Black Girl Magic moment for this episode. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that one?
No, but I absolutely love her. I love everything she stands for, her podcast, all of that. So, nope, that was a perfect one for my episode.
Yeah, she definitely has a lot of grace and a lot of dignity, and she just carries herself so well, and
Absolutely.
it's a
Absolutely.
great example, a very good
I
example.
love
Uh,
her when they go low, go high. We love that.
mhm. Yeah, I hear you there, but sometimes you do got to go lower. But hey, I understand.
Me especially. Sometimes you're gonna go low. I am that one, so I get it.
Oh man, I definitely had to recognize her, but of course we got to recognize you too. And of course, on this episode, it's all about you. Of course it is. And people, I want people to know about you and your journey and to where you are now. But of course, we can't start off in the middle and where you currently are.
Hmm.
We've got to start off from the beginning.
Let's do
That
it.
would be young Sydney.
Yep.
So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in, we'll say I grew up in Maryland, the DMV area, Prince George's County, Maryland. I moved there probably third or fourth grade and was there through high school. So that's home for me.
Okay. All right. So, um, for those that don't know and those that don't know the background, of course, the last name, of course, is Smith, but some might not be aware of the connection. Or would you like to kind of tell everyone the connection in terms of that Smith name that some may know?
Absolutely. So my brother is currently the newest head coach at Tennessee State. I come from a basketball family. My father played; he won a championship in college, played pro, and then my brother followed in his footsteps, played college, won a championship, played pro, and now is coaching at the college level. I come from a basketball family. Me myself, I cannot run and dribble at the same time, but I do work in the basketball world. I love it. I love it as a fan. I love it from a business standpoint, but I never was able to play it myself.
So how was it? How was it kind of growing up in that household? You got your brother here that's playing ball. You've got just all the different things going on around you. You're
Yeah.
not you yourself. You said you weren't necessarily in terms of dribbling the basketball and running at the same and walking at the same time wasn't necessarily your thing. So how was it
Yeah.
growing up and just in that household and environment?
So I'm not sure if you know this part. My stepfather ran one of the biggest grassroots basketball organizations in the country. Thus, the connection with the two assistant coaches that my brother has hired at Tennessee State. So Demar Johnson played for my stepfather. Delonte Hill played for my stepfather. He had a huge. He sent hundreds of kids to college, over 200 kids. We had probably 15 different NBA players. We even had NFL players come out of the organization. I grew up in the house. It was myself, Nolan, and Michael Beasley growing up in the house from, as teenagers for sure. So it was a very, very different experience. My stepdad had probably 17 teams just in Maryland alone from ages 7 on up. So I'm helping run the organization. We have Nolan and Mike Beasley, who went on to be a number 2 pick. It was not a normal life. It was basketball nonstop. I don't think I took a non-basketball related trip until I was probably like 36, if I had to guess. Like everything was basketball in my family. But I loved it because while they were playing, I was learning the business side of the game. My stepdad was putting me in position for meetings. When he had meetings, he'd take me with him, whether it was with shoe companies or different brands, different sports brands. He was, taking me with him so that I could learn the business. So I tell everyone the best way to learn is to do. And I was fortunate enough to have like a front row seat. When Mike got drafted to the Heat, I was able to be in Miami. When Nolan got drafted to Portland, I was able to be in Portland. And even while both of them were in college, I was able to learn the college athletic department side. So it was always all basketball at all times from a very, very young age.
Wow, wow. So Michael Beasley, I gotta ask, how was it just those two, just Michael Beasley and your brother Nolan, and just watching those two compete and play and being around them at all times? I'm pretty sure it was a pretty competitive environment at all times.
Absolutely. They being my younger brothers, I looked up to them, like watching their work ethic, watching how, it wasn't regular social lives. None of us, I don't think, went to prom, homecoming. We didn't do any of that. It was just, the level of focus, the level of competition that always existed in my house to be great at whatever it is that we were doing was always there. We competed at the most silliest things in our household, but, it instilled a lot of amazing qualities that sports tends to do in each one of us.
So, I know you talked about, sports and how big sports and mainly basketball played in your life. But was that the first thing you kind of dreamed of as wanting to be growing up? Was something involved in sports, or was there something particular you wanted to be as a kid that kind of tickled your fancy and you wanted to basically be that growing up? You're like, okay, I want to be this.
I used to joke and say I want to be not joke. I think I used to really want to be a plastic surgeon, but I don't like blood. So I don't know where or why that ever came into play. I mean, I can't look at my own blood without getting squirmish. And then I used to say I wanted to go to law school, but school also wasn't my thing. Now, hindsight, probably wish I had have done it, but it was probably between those two things: plastic surgeon or going to law school and becoming an attorney.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, me and Blood are not best friends either. And,
No,
you know, I did 4 years of school and somebody looked at me and asked me, "Hey, you want to go to grad school?" I said, no, 4 years is enough. I'm good.
exactly. I'm right with you. I'm right with you.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, playing football and then going to playing football in college was definitely a joy and fun, but definitely, yeah, 4 years is enough.
It's
All right,
enough.
we're
Yeah.
gonna take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
When we come back, we're gonna actually dive into your journey into your career. Now, of course, we're gonna get a little bit more background to it, obviously. But we're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, gonna dive more into your career on
Okay.
This One Works.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are two of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, you can get 10% off on these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get these the EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash.
All right, and we are back on This One Works, and of course, Sydney, I know you're probably wondering, why do I have a beard commercial on the show talking about black women? Okay, we'll break it down. We'll break it down why. The reason why I have that commercial on the show is because, I'm like, a lot of times black women probably know how to take care of black men better than black men know how to take care of black men. So, with that being said, of course, introduce the beard commercial on the show. Say, hey, maybe women that are watching the show would talk to their father, their son, their man, their cousin, their son, whoever, somebody in their family, maybe a friend, and say, hey, maybe you might want to touch your beard up with this, maybe to help you. So that's why that
Makes sense.
commercial is on this. But
Makes
but
sense.
getting back to the show at hand, of course, we want to talk about your journey. Now, for those that are not aware, can you please tell everyone what all that you do?
Absolutely. So, Good Favor Sports. I have a sports agency. I'm an agent. I represent college coaches, men and women's Division 1 basketball coaches. And I also am moving into the football side as well. Um, I started this company a little over a year ago, and it's grown tremendously. I'm actually expanding and opening up different divisions of the company. We're moving into the NIL space and hopefully into pro representation by the end of the year.
Wow, a lot. Gotta say, congrats on that success, and it
Thank
definitely
you.
is. I guess you're definitely doing your thing. I should say that. Um, but when you first kind of started thinking about maybe kind of going into this career,
Mhm.
what were your first thoughts? Just in agency or representing people in general. What were your first thoughts, kind of going into it, and, about it?
To be honest, so I'm sitting in my juice bar. I also own a juice bar, and I had pretty much gotten
Oh,
out of
wow,
sports.
nice.
So I own a juice bar in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a basketball themed. You see the hoop. It's a basketball themed juice bar. And I kind of gotten out of
Hmm.
sports. I kind of was just like, let me do something else completely random. And a juice bar was exactly that. But then I got an offer I couldn't resist from an investor to do this, to start the sports agency. Someone who kind of just like watched me. I actually thought I was going to be an employee of his company at the time, and he believed me in a way that made me really believe in myself. And I was like, you know what? You do have the relationships, the knowledge, and the skill to do this. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And I kind of like, once it was go time, I kind of sat on it, and it was almost maybe imposter syndrome for the first couple of months. But then once I started, it really took off, and I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I absolutely love it. I love sports. I love the business side of sports. I love studying athletic departments. I love, watching the ones that do well, watching the ones that do poorly, and studying why they do poorly and figuring out why. So it made sense for me, and I absolutely love it. Plus, again, I grew up doing this, right? Technically, I was running an organization at 16 years old with my stepdad. Granted, it was on the grassroots level, but it's no different. You're dealing with the same people. Everyone's just gotten a little bit older, and it's just on a bigger scale.
Yep, everyone's got like beards and mustaches and basically adulting at this point.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
um, I've got I've got to ask you, as far as the juice bar and your business in terms of the sports agency, how do you
Mhm.
kind of balance both of those?
If you come in the juice bar and I happen to be in here working, you're probably going to hear me on a call for the sports agency. And it's easy. Again, I worked with the juice bar. We've literally built a family here. It's been the best, probably the best thing for me. Like going, it's our staff here. It doesn't feel like staff. It's literally everybody in here is family, and they have been so supportive of just the day job that I'm able to seamlessly do both.
Okay, all right. So, as far as everything there, when did you kind of have your moment where you were like, okay, this is what I want to do? That one moment where you're like, okay, being an agent, representing people is this is it for me. This is where I'm supposed to be.
I think just I've been a person who really has, really believes in my faith, and alignment is very important to me. And I believe when you're moving in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, things just work out and they just happen, right? There's no struggle, there's no real push and pull with it. Once I really said I'm going to go out and sign coaches, I signed coaches. Like when I say what I did in probably almost 2 to 3 months was unbelievable as far as the amount of coaches I was able to sign, and kind of even in my first couple months of doing it, I was able to get a couple clients actually head coaching jobs. And I was like, oh wow, like this not only comes easy to me, but I love being able to empower people to also do what they love. So in that moment, I think I realized probably by like April, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it feels good. And, now I just want to grow it. So now that competitive side's kicked in. And now I'm like, look, I want to grow one of the biggest agencies out because I know I can do it. So that's where I'm at with everything.
Now, got you. Okay. Do you have any type of I just want to ask, do you have like any like favorite story of any person that you got hired or anything like that you can actually tell or anything?
Um, I don't really have a favorite story, but I think just the overall surprising myself and having clients get jobs and it being my first like coaching cycle, I think that was such a beautiful feeling for me because the happiness that they feel. I had a client who her biggest priority was her daughter, and the current job that she was at didn't she was a single mom and didn't allow her for the time with her daughter. She had to travel, she didn't have help in her city, and she's like, look, I'm going to take this job. It's a lower paying job, but if I can get this job, it'll just help me be a better mom and put me in position to better help her family situation. And she got the job, and just kind of knowing that side, because as women we're always we have to pick and choose sometimes whether we want to be a mom or carry out our business. And so kind of supporting her and being able to still do both, that meant a lot to me.
Okay, all right. Awesome. That is awesome. Well, of course, with every journey, there is some hurdles and there is some struggles and different things that everyone comes across. But, of course, we're going to get into those. But, one more commercial break has to be had. Got to pay these bills over here. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive into those hurdles and advice as well on this
Sounds
Mornings.
good.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, Why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on This Woman Works. And like I mentioned before the commercial break, of course, with every journey, there's hurdles that come about, and of course, some advice that comes from it. So, in your journey, not everything, is going to be smooth in any journey that anyone takes. So, what were some of the hurdles that you came across jumping into, being founder and CEO of Good Favor Sports?
Ooh, hurdles. I think the hurdle that's like consistent, I think for me is just like I'll start with teetering on the line of like what do I keep private and what do I show. That's been something that I've struggled with just in business in general, whether it's the juice bar or the sports agency. Because I feel like if you don't really show your work and put things out there, people will play in your face, right? Like they're gonna say, "Well, you didn't do this," probably because they've seen it, but when really my resume reads an entirely different way. So I'm really, really struggling and kind of like trying to get out of just being a private person and starting to show my work, because in showing your work, there's a level of credibility that you get. And I'll say that another thing is probably just funding, right? Like I think funding for businesses is, always a struggle. And as I really want to scale the business, figuring out how do I scale. If I want to grow it quickly, I'm going to need to raise a sizable amount of money. And so really just figuring that out, but it'll come, I have faith. I'm having good conversations right now, but I think those two things are probably the biggest hurdles, is probably like funding in order to scale. And then just kind of like personally, debating on what do I show and what do I keep private, because in any business, again, if I want more clients, they got to see that I have clients, and I've not showed that I have any clients, right? So I got to kind of get out of that space and get into a habit of just really showing my work.
All right, and it definitely sounds like you've definitely got your plan in terms of how to overcome those hurdles and things like that, which is awesome.
Mhm.
But what's some of the biggest advice that you've received along your journey into sports and basically sports, agent or the Good Favor Sports ownership and brand?
Yeah, I think so. Right now, I'm in the process of hiring. So I think the advice has come
Mhm.
in regards to hiring, and it's hire slow, fire fast. That's been one bit of advice that's been kind of really, really sticking with me as I just kind of explore options with different individuals that I want to bring onto the team. But I think another bit of advice is really just kind of like lean into my gut and what I feel. Like I think a lot of times we'll defer to other people to make decisions and different things, but you've got to be able to trust your own judgment. I think when you do take on the role, a leadership role, right? You've got to, I think that's important. And another thing too is team building, and being able to put the right people around you is really, really, really important. So that kind of goes into the hiring conversation. I think for me, I've been talking to not only my investor who's built an amazing company, but other people on his team. And they always are stressing to me the importance of like the people that I put around me and how that's going to really make or break me as I move towards scaling and growth for the company. So that's probably the biggest advice, is just, advice around my team, I think is probably the most important.
Gotcha. Okay, so definitely sounds like you're on your way and you've got a great plan in place. What would be some advice for someone that may be wanting to follow in your footsteps or wanting to be an agent or have their own sports agency or represent coaches or represent players or anything like that? What would be some advice you could give to a person like that?
Absolutely. If you're wanting to get into the space, into the sports space at any level, in any capacity, I say just get out. To get out, if you want to do work in basketball, get out to basketball events. Whether it's starting at the grassroots level, I always think is the easiest because you're going to have a little bit of everybody in the room. Get out, introduce yourself, meet people. Networking is your greatest asset in this space. So if you can get out, shake some hands, get some phone numbers, follow up once you get home, all of those things. I mean, that's going to really kind of help open doors. I can't tell you, I'm one of those. If I meet a lot of young girls who want to get into the space, and I'm always going to give out my phone number and tell them to call me because, again, that's what I wish I had or just was able to see when I was coming up. It wasn't a lot of women when I was coming up in the space, but just get out and network. I mean, you are your best advocate, and if you can get out and say, be very intentional, say, hey, I'm such and such, this is what I want to do, or I'm such and such, this is what I do, make sure you're out there selling yourself and advocating for yourself to whoever you meet. Get some business cards or get the little dot app on your phone, whatever you need to get your contact information out there. But if you want to get into this space, get out and put yourselves in the spaces where the people are that you want to work with and that you want to be like.
Okay. All right. All right. That's great advice. And, I would say it's definitely been a pleasure learning your journey in terms of, how you got into the business, how you thought of the business, how you basically weren't thinking about being in the business, and then boom, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a great journey. And thank you for allowing me to actually bring that journey to this podcast as well. Um, I want to say that definitely look forward to seeing you come down for one of the games at Tennessee State. Um, Also, just wanted to mention as well, hey, the platform is yours to tell everyone where they can find you on social media and also where they can support your juice bar as well.
Absolutely. Well, first I want to say thank you. Thank you for having me on. This is actually my first podcast that I've done where I've spoken about Good Favor. So I was really excited. Really excited. You got the first interview. I will always remember this moment. So no, I appreciate you. And then Good Favor Sports on Instagram. And then my personal is Sid SYD G as in George Smitty. If you have any questions about entrepreneurship or the sports business, please, don't hesitate to reach out. I will respond. And then the juice bar is called Cherry Pickin, which is, basketball mover, sports term. Cherry Pickin, no G on Pickin. That's Cherry Pickin Goods on Instagram as well. And if you're ever in Louisville, Kentucky, or I'm probably going to do a farmer's market or something in Nashville at some point, or just bring juices down so people can start to try them. But they're good. We got the best juices around. So I appreciate the platform and the opportunity.
Yeah, you need to reach out to Carlos Partee. He is the guy over the black the black farmers market, the black Nashville market when they have on First Fridays here in Nashville.
Okay, I've heard about that. Somebody else told me, so I'm gonna have to get that name from you, and I will for sure reach out. Thank you.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Awesome.
But of course, I'm the host of the show. My name is Mike Patton. Of course, you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. I can't call it X because X. The only X I recognize is like DMX and Malcolm X. That's it.
There you go. That's it.
So that's what I'm not going to call it that. Of course, you can find me still on Blue Sky as well. Same handle. And then you can find me on Instagram and Threads at this THA and THE _general_MP. Of course, This Woman Works is on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. And of course, you can find This Woman Works on the Mike Patton Network, where you can also find Touring the AFC South and Let's Talk HBCU, where we had your brother on one of the shows as well. So, just want to thank everyone for tuning in to this episode of This One Works, episode 52. Episode 53 is definitely on the way next week. Who's going to be on it? You got to tune in to see. So thank you all for tuning in to this episode of This Woman Works. We're out. Peace.